Oh, I think the wrong one. Sorry. At 6:30, we call the meeting to order with pledge the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is the approval of June's 10th Planning Commission meeting.
I make a motion we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence, Tim? Next on our agenda is Leon and Elda's Wojciechowski's subdivision plan.
One from Laird here tonight. Is there anyone here to represent this plan? Come on forward. Hello.
Hello.
Just, can you explain what's,
Basically, they're gonna give me 10 feet on my property line.
okay, we probably need a name and number?
8740, which is the Wozlewski's, are giving me 10 feet, 8730 Cameron Road, Chris Ransom, for a right of way. So I can, if I have, construction in the back of my house or whatever, I can drive construction vehicles through there without any problems.
And so you don't represent the other two parcels that are, the other two pieces that are getting,
Oh, only one property is
One
getting.
property.
The other two that are shown on there were previous subdivisions from the
oh, okay,
original lot.
gotcha, okay. I was thinking they were part of this.
Yeah, it's only that 10-foot
Gotcha.
piece.
Pretty plain and simple.
Yep.
Questions from the board? I call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the plan as submitted. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Next on our agenda is a Saddlewood 2A amended land development plan. Mike?
Good evening, Mike Sanford, 4721 Atlantic. Joe Plammer's with me here tonight. If you have any other questions I can't answer, but this is an amended plan for Saddlewood Phase 2A. They would like to remove Unit 40 from this plan, and next on your agenda, we'd like to move Unit 40 somewhere else. So this one's just an amendment to remove a unit.
Pretty simple. Any questions? Yeah,
Make a
motion,
motion to accept as presented.
I second the motion.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mike. Next is Saddlewood Phase 1 amended land development plan.
Yes, so between Unit 4 and 6, there was a little space there. And your ordinance has changed. So the setbacks kind of changed, the zoning district changed, everything kind of changed. So we had an opportunity to look at putting Unit 40, moving it from Phase 2 to that space right there. There's enough space between the two units, 4 and 6. So we ended up, this work. No. So we basically moved Unit 40 into Phase 1. There is currently a swale that passes through that area, and my survey crew went out, took some shots on the swale and the storm sewer, and I sent Matt a sketch. It was this afternoon, but I sent him a sketch of how that'll be dealt with. We'd be installing a storm sewer to collect that drainage and get it into the road storm sewer system. Oh, there's the sketch. So it'd be putting a catch basin and a swale behind this new unit, and then running it northerly out to the road and tying it into the road catch basin.
Again, pretty simple. Any questions? Call for a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the plan as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Next is Benjamin and Sally Gradler's subdivision plan.
Allen Yard, 14223 Middleton Road, Waterford. Let's see, yeah. Parcel A1 here is currently part of, the Benjamin and Sally Gradler property there. The parcel there to the northwest.
I'll give you mine.
Okay.
That way you can, I want to try to read mine.
Okay, all right, so this is the parcel that's going to be conveyed, it's parcel A1. It's currently part of this parcel, so here's the current perimeter of that. This parcel A1 is to be conveyed to Christopher and Carol A. Gradler and become part of that parcel there. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
They're again, pretty simple. Any questions?
Any questions about the building on there? No issues?
That's that's a metal outbuilding. Definitely no water and sewer to it. I'm not sure if he has some electric power out there to it or not.
Also, it's being conveyed to a property that has commercial use already, so.
Okay, right. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Need a second?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda is R&S Clark Family Partnership subdivision on Parsons Road.
Evening.
Evening.
So basically what's happening here is,
We have your name and
oh, sure, Shad Sandell. I'm
Mr.
the
Shad.
project manager at CT Consultants.
okay, thank you. Just subdividing a couple acres off.
Yeah, for his nephew.
There is a septic system on there.
Yes, approved.
Yeah, it's a little, right here, a little S on the plan.
What's the boundary? What are we allowed to, for septic?
Setback for a septic?
Yeah.
I think it's like 10 foot or something, it's not much.
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward again. Any questions? Need to call for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next is Nissan Certified Pre-Owned Center preliminary sketch plan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Swanson from Lennon Smith Solar Engineering. I'm representing the owners with this sketch plan. So basically, we started this project with the owner about 3 years ago. The original intent was to develop the whole property and enclose the stream. But once we started getting into all the permits with DEP and getting construction estimates for the actual enclosure, it wasn't feasible. So we've kind of tailored the owner's expectations, and this is what we've come up with for a new iteration of the development. So just want to get the planning commission's initial comments on this plan that's being presented. Matt did give us some comments in an email, which I think we can address most of them pretty easily. I think with your comment about parking, we have enough parking, it's just redoing the calculation a bit to match the zoning ordinance. And then LaBeouf Creek is an impaired stream, so in the stormwater ordinance, there's a 150-foot buffer from that stream, but we've actually modeled the floodplain, so we'll do a stream corridor study and submit that to Matt.
And it's, correct me if I'm wrong, the dashed line, that's where your
Correct.
100-year floodplain is?
Yep. So this is a Nissan certified pre-owned center, so it's mostly going to be pre-owned car sales.
How are those on the far east border? How are those parking spots going to get accessed?
So that's just inventory parking, so we don't have to have a drive aisle. That's kind of more of an issue for.
Are we looking at all this area here?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, yeah, where the two intersect,
Yeah, so it's not, back in there's not customer parking, that's all just inventory parking.
I think all the customer parking's in
Correct.
this area, right?
Yep, customer parking out front and then a few employee parkings in the rear.
Okay,
At the southeast, yeah.
so this area here.
Yep.
I guess the question would where those two intersect.
Right there. Right here?
Yep.
Yeah, so
How do you
again,
get to those
It's gonna be, basically they show parking, but it's not a required parking, they're just kind of showing where they're gonna be putting the cars. So those cars will be stacked underneath there. So if they wanna get this car out, they're gonna have to move a bunch to get to it, basically.
Yeah.
And that's more operations of the car dealership than.
correct.
So-
It's basically our way of showing the owner how many inventory spaces he can get in there. Yeah.
By all intents and purposes, they may not strip it at all, and you'll have cars like 16 through here.
Yep.
And that's something they could do if they wanted to.
And what's the terrain like? I'm not that familiar with it, but what's the terrain like immediately to it would be the east there, that retaining wall? Is that a radical drop off there? Or is it-
So at the southeast corner where that existing pole building is,
Here, you want mine?
yeah.
You can just turn it off on the side or.
We'll trade.
So, yeah, right here it does drop off pretty sharply. Down in here, it is kind of flat down in here. So I think the retaining wall is probably gonna be the highest in this area here.
Meaning,
Correct.
what kind of height you talking?
It's
3
probably
feet or
gonna be like
6?
12 feet high.
Oh,
Yeah, so we'll have a chain link fence and a guide rail up there. And that was one of my questions for Matt. As part of the approval process, do you need to see the retaining wall design, or can that be the contractor?
We probably will, being that close to the stream, because whether or not you get the buffer reduced, you're still within that regulatory floodplain based off of FEMA, so we'll probably have to do a floodplain permit, and that'll be one of the requirements.
Okay. I think the closest we are to the floodplain is
Yeah,
that corner right there.
and it all depends on what kind of retaining wall. If it's like mechanical earth stabilized, then you're probably okay, but if you're doing like a standard cantilever retaining wall, I don't know how it's getting in there.
Yeah.
And then the buffer, I think there's been some discussion about repairing buffer that,
Yes.
since you're not enclosing the stream.
Correct, yeah, so if we were enclosing the stream, we would have had to go through all the DEP permitting, stream mitigation, so the 150-foot buffer kind of just would have went away. But now that we're not enclosing the stream, now the 150-foot buffer comes into play, so we'll do the stream corridor study. If we did the 150-foot buffer, it would kind of cut right in here somewhere. So basically what is developed now is as it's going to be developed.
And one of the things with that, they may be able to, it would be kind of brought up with the supervisors what they want to do. Any recommendations you guys have regarding that's perfect, and they'll consider it. But one option would be like this area here, maybe have a conservation easement on it that it can never be developed, keep it natural, to kind of accommodate the fact that this is closer to the stream than what would be ideal. I think, since Mike's sitting here, I think that was something that they did with Saddlewood Phase 3, was they took areas outside of that buffer, kind of saved it for protection from future development to offset what was being developed within the buffer.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And then, something else going through our mind is marginal access.
Yeah, and Matt brought that up. We can provide marginal access here to that adjacent property. This adjacent property here, we really can't.
Well, it wouldn't be required to be the ones abutting Peach.
Okay,
So it'd
yeah,
just be the north and the south.
so here and,
That would be tricky.
yeah. But is there an ordinance change coming?
This is just a look at your plan, you know, we're just kind of what-ifing,
Yeah.
throwing things out that, you know,
Yeah.
to think about. And I think that'd be something that you could, you know, work through. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had discussions about it before.
We can easily do it on the adjoining property to the south, going north. Yeah,
It wouldn't be feasible going north anyway, though, would it? I mean,
Well,
you know,
that's-
it's
It's one of
just
the reasons
I
for
mean,
looking at this.
It's not accessing to anybody else's
Right, yeah,
property.
yeah, right, and nobody wants to, you know. We can't come up with everything during a look at a plan like this.
oh no, I understand.
It is interesting, we appreciate you giving us a peek at it.
Yep, and that's why I want to come early on in this, so that we can start working through this now.
Is there any work gonna be done in that office building? Any, I should say, mechanicking or?
Plan.
Yeah,
Oh,
wrenching?
he says no. So,
As a, what is it, 40 by,
40 by 100, I think. is how
45
it's-
by 100?
Yeah,
And it looks like there's a kind of a drive-through
Yeah.
yeah.
garage door. I don't know if it's what they're going to do with that.
45 feet, so that you could put at least 2 cars back to back.
You can change oil on there.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. And is that gonna be a deterrent to neighbors?
Well, it's all permitted uses there, so.
45 by 100 is not all that big anyway.
That's a big building though.
You think so? 45 by 100?
I love it.
I know you would. I would too. And then the fire chief's okay with,
That would come into play until we actually got a plan submittal.
okay,
Per ordinance, a building that size, you're only required to have 50% perimeter access, which they kind of show that they have there.
at least.
That existing pole barn coming down,
No, that's staying.
so you're gonna have 2 pretty good sized buildings.
Yep.
Okay,
For-
so that one's gonna remain.
That one is going to stay, yes. I believe he's going to use that for storage.
So basically just the house slash office is coming up.
Correct.
And the stormwater is going underneath?
Correct. That,
It's this
yeah.
big
thanks,
boy
Matt.
right here.
Okay.
Yeah, and depending on the retaining wall design, we may have to
Yes.
pull that back some.
There is drainage currently out of that metal pole, that existing, and it goes down to the creek.
It does.
I've seen it years ago. It's been, kids played in there. So is that gonna be fixed or we? Because I know they were using it, and existing, I think they're using it for.
Yeah, so
washing.
the runoff from the roof is just going to continue to be downspouts to the
Sure.
creek. But everything else we're gonna capture and get it to the underground system.
Yeah, yeah. Because inside that building, I guess is, currently there's suds and
Oh, okay,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
because they're using it for prep. Or I believe they are.
If that's the case, they should address that now.
Yeah,
I was not aware of that.
so, Tim, you think he's using it as a wash bay?
I'm not sure, I didn't get inside and have no idea, but you can see that there's a pipe on the, it would be on the east side of that building. I think it is the east. Any other questions from the board? Or come on, Chris, you gotta have something.
Yeah. No, I mean, my only concern about the development of the property as a whole, you know, at this point, would be the line of sight coming off of Town Hall Road. You know, right now in existence, it's a little bit different, this is gonna stretch out a little bit further. So that line of sight is really kind of not my concern or thought, you know. I'm not sure what's to be done about that, other than the fact of just noting it.
Depending on how much they raise the elevation of.
Yeah.
So that, where we're proposing that driveway, I believe it's where the existing driveway is now.
You see one that we have it there?
They have two, and I believe when we had a meeting on site with PennDOT, the Conservation District, DEP, I think Matt, you were there too.
Yeah.
PennDOT only is gonna allow one driveway, one of those other, the driveway I think furthest to the north was never permitted.
That was mainly just the construction access.
Is that, okay.
They're still constructing it, they're still,
So we'll go through the proper HOP process.
well, the one's probably permitted, right? The one original with
Yeah,
Bob Nick had. Actually, I think his was on the east side, or on the south side of the house.
I can't think of anything right now. Tomorrow, that might be a different question, but, you know.
Chris and Ron, we are set.
I have nothing else to add to it that we can start.
I smell something burning here.
I'm just thinking the sidewalk things again, but our comprehensive plan doesn't go that far south.
I think it's something that, in my opinion, should be thought of, because if you're gonna display cars there, I'm sure people are gonna be out there walking. Especially.
And the possibility of a bus stop in the future. I mean, you know, you're selling cars, you want a bus to stop and bring it. And we've always got that to deal with.
if he were required to put in a sidewalk,
It would be part way, I don't think you could
Yeah.
jump the ravine.
yeah, I was just gonna say, it would have to be just in front of what he is developing, not across the ravine and on Town Hall Road.
Yeah, it may not be conducive to that particular parcel. Sidewalk may not.
And even Town Hall Road, there may be a thought, I mean, we do have pedestrian traffic. I think it's something that we should kick around.
It's odd, I drive that road every day, but I don't know the speed limit right there. I'm just wondering, you know,
On 19,
yeah,
45.
it is 45 right there?
Yeah, it doesn't jump up to 55 until you pass where Kia is.
Okay.
Going south.
Yeah. And Town Hall Road's 45.
Note that.
I think the sidewalk should be talked about.
Well, technically, that'd take a, yeah, talk about it, it'd take a change to the comprehensive plan, wouldn't it?
We'd have to, if you want sidewalks, you can amend the transportation plan to show it. I can look in the sidewalk ordinance and see if there's kind of a, can't remember exact language, if the supervisors can request sidewalk, even if it's not shown on the plan, there may be language in there to that effect.
To me, there's an argument, this is my personal opinion, there's a stronger argument against the sidewalk than there is for sidewalk, in my opinion, simply because of the ravine to the north. That's the only reason. But there's a lot of places on Peach that need sidewalks. No question about it.
And it's something I'm thinking because it's a planning,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
planning
and
thing. We might be looking 10 years down the road, but
Well, sure, and you don't want people walking along and slipping down the hill like they do in front of Wegmans, you know, like we see now.
Give you enough to think about, Matt?
Yeah, I have a lot of notes here.
You'll sleep better tonight, I'm sure.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Next on our agenda is the comprehensive plan implementation update.
So I have one thing to announce tonight.
Did we motion?
You
There's
didn't
no
take a
motions.
motion.
So, we just got word 2 weeks ago. The township was awarded $250,000 from the DCD LSA fund for the Downs Drive reconstruction project. So, that's good news. That means that project's gonna possibly move forward, so
And where will that be spent? Primarily in paving?
it'll be primarily paving, yes. The plan, I don't have it with me tonight, but basically looking at Downs Drive, mainly a resurfacing project, but at the same time, get rid of some of the extra paving that people go down and get potholes and use as a truck stop.
Especially to the west of Peach, right?
Yeah, it's primarily to the west of Peach, reconfiguring the roadway and improvements there.
That's needed. That's great news.
It's 250,000.
250,000.
That gonna do anything?
No.
It'll help.
It's a little smidge, just a smidge.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
We'll take it.
Seems pretty cheap.
Good work.
Are we gonna, is that a cost share? Do we, does some put in money for that too?
Yeah, it's, I think the original amount was 600,000, so township will be on, look for that much, we'll look to see what we can do. We may have to scope the project back some to make it feasible, but
Hold and bake sale?
yeah,
That all you have, Matt?
that's all I have.
Other business?
Yeah, I have a couple things. Suggestions, for amendments to the existing zoning ordinance. All of these, but you want to write a few things down
Thank you.
as well. For your ideas, suggestions, opinions.
Make it a little easier on your eyes.
I know you guys don't have your zoning ordinance with you, but I can read this. This is in regards to section 630. Recreational vehicles, including but not limited to RV homes, travel trailers, camping vehicles and trailers, pickup coaches, motorized homes, boats and boat trailers, and associated equipment may be stored and parked subject to the following requirements. So there's several requirements, but I wanted to make it clear that at no time shall a recreational vehicle be permitted to be parked or stored on a lot without a principal structure. How we have it right now, it says parking or storage of recreational vehicles and recreational equipment shall be limited to the interior of garages and other available on-lot accessory buildings, driveways, or portion of the property located behind the principal building. It's like blended with that paragraph. So I just wanted to add, reiterate, at no time shall a recreational vehicle be permitted to be parked or stored on a lot without a principal structure.
That makes great sense to me.
Everybody okay with that?
But you're saying originally it was parked behind the principal structure, so
Right.
you're calling that out all automatically, aren't you?
Right. It's blended in the paragraph, but I just wanted to make it more clear.
Gotcha.
Which leads me to the next thing. It's section 630B3. Parking or storage of recreational vehicles and recreational equipment shall conform to all applicable yard setback requirements for an accessory structure within the zoning district in which the property is located. Now, I wanted to get your opinion on this. We have about 20 RVs in the township that are parked in people's driveways. They do not meet the front yard setbacks. How do you guys feel about that, and should we enforce the setbacks?
I mean, so typically in a residential area, they have to be 75 feet, right? 75 feet.
The front yard setback is 30 feet.
It's 30, okay, so they have
In our RMD, it all depends what district that you're in. It's 125 feet off of Perry Highway, for example, for the center line.
permanently park, being a former member of the RV community, I can say that permanently parking an RV in that position, no, I would not be in agreement with that, but temporarily, like family, whatnot, coming into town, they want a place to park their RV, or you want a place to temporarily park your RV. For example, in your driveway, you might be cleaning it or winterizing it or whatever. You've got to have the option and the opportunity to do that because, I mean, you need a big piece of land. I mean, we'll talk about Ponderosa here before you can, pull an RV onto it and then do anything to it. I mean, yeah, that's been my experience. I don't know, I think our house, where we live, with a house, that's a 75-foot setback from the property line, if I'm not mistaken.
Front yard?
Yeah, was it 75 at that
It
time?
probably was 50.
Yeah, 75 total to the,
Center line?
yeah.
Could be.
And he's also on the corner lot, so.
Yeah,
So I was just wondering, did you want to waive that requirement for parking or storing recreational vehicles? If you go to like Valley View or Trails of Five Points, you do see that there are motorhomes, RVs in people's driveways. As long as they're not obstructing you, it's up to you. Here's the deal. There's like 20 or 25 out there that the code enforcement officer has noticed, and they are not within the setbacks. So is it something that?
The setback of an accessory
The
building?
front yard setback, yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
Again, I think it's like, for how many months out of the year is this an issue? Because I think, wasn't there wording in the ordinance at one time that you had, for temporary parking, there was a 90-day limitation? Can't, for more than 90 days, you can't leave your RV there. And if you did go over 90 days, then you have to observe the part of the ordinance that says to the side and behind primary structure. I think that's the way it used to read. And I mean, that seemed to work quite well to me. But if we automatically, if we just, say carte blanche, no, you can't park your RV within the setback at any time, I think that's too far. I think that's going too far. But then again, do you allow it to go on like that year round? That would be, because it is an obstruction. A fire vehicle or rescue vehicle has to get into, to that part of the house. You park there year round. Sometimes they have a way of growing roots and staying there.
Yeah.
So,
Just to play devil's advocate, your alarm's gonna put another house in front of their house. And when it comes to the 90 days, technically, if I move those wheels, it starts over again.
but no, but it didn't. It was cumulative. It was annual cumulative, 90 days.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point though. Yeah.
Permanent is defined as a period of time exceeding 90 consecutive days or 90 days within a calendar year. That's how it's written.
I guess who's to monitor that, and who's the enforcer? What's that?
The parking authority.
There you go. Well, Chris, talk to us.
I can think of two instances in Valley View Farms right now that are RVs that sit there probably in excess of 90 days. And I don't have a problem up to the 90 days. I think in the summertime, they bring it in.
Use it for the weekend or
The one family has relatives that come in out of town that stay in the one RV for a couple days and,
Yeah, you're allowed up to 30 days.
yeah.
Um,
But they both seem to bring them out in the end of April, first part of May, and they don't leave until September. The two that I can think of. But then again, I'm thinking that one over on Ennis, that the guy's got the built-in for his big,
Right,
what,
Mr. Tamer.
that's a year round. Is that who that is?
Yeah. That's right here in the corner.
parking and storage
Right around the
recreational
corner, yeah.
vehicles and recreational equipment shall be limited to the interior of garages and or other available on-lot accessory building.
Well, and in that case, he's got a building for it, it's to the back or side of the property and it's being set back, so he's.
Right,
in line with the ordinance.
Well, I mean, it's an open, just an open carport, right?
It is.
Yeah,
That meets the
that
requirements?
meets the requirements based on what the ordinance is saying,
And
yeah.
you do need a zoning permit for a carport. That would be noted.
But we were kind of thinking about like the people, their house is right on the setback line, they have no side yards to get around to the back. And they park the camper in the driveway when they're not camping in the summer, may go out camping 2 or 3 times a year. Is that okay? Yeah.
If I was a neighbor, I wouldn't want it.
I mean, if you're asking me, the answer is no, but I'm open to discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, well, I agree
you
with you. If you ask me, I would say that it's a no. And like Tim just pointed out, your neighbor, I mean, you know, Joe, so-and-so off the street might say, yeah, that's a good idea, let them park there, but, you know, how do the neighbors feel about that? And then what does it do to the overall ambiance of the neighborhood? Is it positive or is it negative?
Right.
Does it leave a positive image or a negative image? And I think over a period of time now, if it's a $2 million country coach RV parked out in front, you know, maybe it's not a bad thing, but, I mean,
why are we living in my neighborhood?
Yeah.
but, you know, you get the idea, I just,
Well, is this something that we're trying to regulate that doesn't need to be because it's more covered under HOA requirements and should we just kind of stay out of it, I'm wondering?
I was fine with the way it was, my personal opinion. You know, with the 90-day wording and.
So, there's a couple of homes on Perry Highway that don't meet the setbacks. And they're parked in the driveway. There's one home down there that has 2 RVs parked in their front yard. One's a camper, one's like an RV. Again, it's not in the driveway, it's in the front yard. No one's complained about it. I drive in that way. I noticed them. And the code enforcement officer, do I enforce our ordinance or do we wait for a complaint?
Could it be qualified by the zoning district? Could you say if you're in residential, whatever, then you would have to apply this, you know, adherence to the setback, or,
Good.
you know, because as you become more rural, away from, you know, residential areas, I think you have a lot more leeway.
But this is in the commercial district.
Yeah.
Where there's, you know, legal non-conforming homes in the commercial district still on Perry Highway that have.
What are some of the best practices? I mean, that we would see around the state, other similar communities?
Well,
to some-
actually, I did some investigating and a lot of the ordinance say that you have to be in the setbacks. I mean, but I looked at Mill Creek, looked at the city, looked at Green. One of our supervisors does not agree with it. So I just wanted to get your opinion.
I think it's better to be, in my opinion, be proactive
Yeah.
to it than reactive, because all of a sudden now you're, you know, there is an ordinance and hey, it probably needs to be moved, or maybe send a friendly letter, and I don't know whether that would move them or not, I don't know.
And again, if they were to move them 10 feet, it starts over. So I mean,
Remove
from
from
this
property.
side,
You know,
from
remove
this
from
one
property.
over to the other.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a big subject, especially I think in Summit versus
Sure.
in Erie or even
Right.
parts of Mill Creek, you know. In the city, if that happens, somebody's calling within 5 minutes, be like, whoa, wait a minute. We get calls like this all the time. Out here, I have probably 8, 9 neighbors that have these at any given time, or at one point did.
Yeah.
It bothered me, but it wasn't the end of the world. Like again, to me, it's about the flavor of what we're doing, and if you have a residential neighborhood that's very tight, like some of those are off of Hammond, I mean, to me, that's obtrusive to view, and it's a safety concern. You know, it's not just, oh, I don't want to see that thing, you know, regardless of how nice it is. You know, but to me, this distance between houses, I feel like you're putting up a big wall at that point.
You are.
You know, and, I mean, obviously, everybody wants to make sure they don't have to pay to store these things.
No,
Like,
right.
I totally get it. But, you know, it's the same thing with a boat or anything else, you kind of have to make those decisions if you want or not, based on where you live. So, I don't know, to me, it might be a dialogue to have. No, I would rather be proactive than reactive to it.
Right,
But,
Could it be qualified by the size of the lot?
size of the lot or in the R&D district, you know, Town Hall Village is R&D, your
Right.
Valley View and Trails of Five Points is R&D.
Yeah, a 3 acre
Residential
lot.
medium density, but, I mean, then,
But if you park, you know, we put additions on it, and you put pave beside the existing garage, so at least it's back out of sight, maybe not as,
Yeah, that's always been good to me. I mean, good for me. I've always, because really the front of the.
I don't want to look at it either as a
Right, the
homeowner.
front of the trailer, in that case, is behind the front setback of the main residence, usually. So that's kind of the rule of thumb that I've always, even though you could see it from the side, it's still behind the
But-
front of the residence.
when you're in those PRDs, you got 14 feet in between those homes. Saddlewood, you got 7, I think.
Well, we just saw tonight in some
That's what I'm
places you
saying.
don't have.
Gonna have
you
less.
like 10.
oh, you're
So they're not gonna be able to park
14%
on the side of their garage. I mean, I can make it so only, we can apply this in the R&D. Do you wanna do it by districts? Or, I don't know if you wanna do it by lot size.
We'd have to look at doing it by, I just don't wanna get in a case where we're discriminating against anybody, so I would wanna look into that before we,
Yeah, before you jump into the
Yeah.
residential, or the zoning district or the lot size or
Yeah.
something like that.
I would think if you did limit it by zoning district, so-and-so is gonna be like, well, just because I live here, I can't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
that's
Part of
I
it.
mean, they're,
Yeah.
but it's a great recreational
Welcome to our-
activity.
Yeah,
It's a great recreational activity for family and friends and, you know, and kids and all that other stuff. So there are a lot of positives to it. So it's not an easy decision, I would think.
Yeah.
In 2 of the 3 HOAs in Valley View Farms, 2 of them, that's not permitted. And back in mind, the village, there's no recreational vehicles, no boats, no trailers.
I couldn't even imagine going back there with a trailer and trying.
Well, the one guy down on the end, he's got a pontoon boat that is there at most 10 hours during the day. When he comes home at night, till he takes it back to storage the next morning.
Yeah,
And nobody complains.
Yeah,
It's
that's
only
right.
happened
Yeah.
once or twice a year.
yeah.
But other than that, we don't permit any recreational vehicles, no, you know, no jet ski trailers or
I mean,
anything
my
like that.
concern about this was, when I look at it from my perspective is, okay, my kids get on the bus in the morning, I cannot see down the road because there's an obstruction there. You know, yeah, that could be a tree or something, but this is an optional thing, and to me, that comes with a little bit of safety. That's kind of why I think, you know, I leave everybody to do whatever they want, you know, that's fine. But when you're looking at living in a neighborhood, you're making a certain choice to do that, and that's why there's different zones in the way you operate that.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Well, that's why you have setbacks, right?
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
on the
say,
first street,
but
so
yeah.
you can
And that's
see.
why we have different setbacks in each district as
Mhm.
well. So I mean, we might be able to limit this use, or not necessarily limit, but apply the setbacks.
Wonder what kind of activity you would get with a friendly letter.
Well, here's, again, I have not received any complaints, but of the 20 to 25 that are out there, and it might be just because camping season's open and they're getting ready to store them or clean them or whatever they're doing. No one's complained about them, but we know that they're into the setback.
What did the supervisors feel?
One of them said that they don't agree that they should be within the setback.
Because, I mean, if you start something like that, everybody with an RV is gonna go a different way. Once the one that says.
Is it worth putting something maybe in the newsletter? By the way.
Survey? No, yeah, that's why I bring it to the table. I'm being proactive. Like, we
Yeah.
haven't received any complaints. However, when I was trying to change this, I noticed that they have to be within the setbacks. And so I said, hey, Joe, can you go drive around the township and tell me how many RVs or motorhomes are parked within the setback? And his answer was about 20 to 25. So, Okay, the next one, let me know how you feel about this. Accessory use, building or structures. Adding this to this section. An open porch may be constructed in a front yard extending for a distance of not more than 10 feet beyond the required setback, provided that it does not encroach on the required side yard setback. This is just a porch.
But the evolution of them is you put up a beautiful roof and chairs and whatnot,
Then you
have
screen it in.
Yeah, and pretty soon that evolves into more than what it was intended for.
Okay, then constructed an open, well, she says open.
Well, but all of a sudden those windows show up and, or whatever.
I know, yeah, you're talking reality.
Right? I've seen.
And I'm looking at zoning hearing board cases where we have quite a few that are requesting to get a variance request on the front yard setback to construct a porch. So that's when we really have to take a look at that, and can we be a little more flexible with an open?
So do you do it by heated or unheated space? No, that's too much, right? That'd be too much leeway.
Like currently you can have, you're allowed to encroach on the rear yard setback
Yeah.
with an open deck.
Open,
Yes.
No roof.
right?
No roof. Thoughts?
Can we make it, you're allowed to do an open deck to the front? That's less likely to get covered over.
Oh, that's not correct.
Yeah.
But people do it, like if you had to put a handicap ramp up to your house, that's where it's gonna usually go.
I think you could, I think you could probably say that, an open porch to most people would mean, I know there's an
That's-
evolutionary thing, but
that's how it
open
goes.
porch should mean, you could define it. Open porch, what does it mean in definitions? No screen, no window, no, none of those hanging
If you
window
could draw a
signs.
line there, that's it. I've been involved in too many of those that all of
Well,
a sudden.
I just see this, like Tim sees this slippery slope where you do the porch, you're going down the frost on your footing, so you're already halfway there.
Cane furniture in there, that's okay for a while, then pretty soon the little bit more fancy seats come and the couch and whatnot, and all, let's just.
It's a little too windy out there.
It is, and the rain's blowing in.
Yeah, I got an outlet on here for my TV.
So,
Yeah.
no on that one? Scratch that one? Yes. Article 8, this is in regards to signs. I just want to reiterate, no off-site advertising signs off-site advertising signs are prohibited in all zoning districts except where contractors are actively working on a site.
I like it.
As long as Kip's still not out there. Sorry. He had a whole garage full of signs.
Oh, we still do.
We still do.
Yeah, Joe's pretty good at that. However, we went a little over, there's a lot of SOS signs and there's a lot of school stuff, that's different.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah, it is. And nothing against Kip, and I guess he was doing his job, but guys, on a couple of my jobs, the signs were out front while they were working, while they're working there.
Yeah.
Overnight, he comes by and so he's.
They're probably in the garage. Okay.
That reminds me, somebody came and took one from our property. Township truck pulls up across the street, down 3 houses, and I forget what contractor was there. The township picked the sign up, put it in his truck and drove away. It's private property.
So we're okay with RVs, but not little signs, is that what you're saying? I just want to make that clear.
I knew I was.
We don't allow off-site advertising. And now, I don't know what the contractor, what he was doing. I don't know. And I don't know if there was a way for Joe to see that he was working there.
Well, his truck wasn't there at that time. I don't know if he was done working there or not. It was a homework, but I just hadn't remembered. And this was just the last week or 10 days where I saw it pulls in, and wait a minute, this is private property. this is an HOA property, what's the township truck?
But it's all,
But
I
it's-
mean, I got private property too, I mean, we all have.
Well, that would be
private
like pulling up to your back garage and taking it.
Yeah, because
Cause you
once
have to
you,
drive back there to see that.
once you cross that crosswalk on Robin, I was led to believe that that's all private property.
Correct.
That's how we get out without, we don't have any traffic control devices back there. And that's how I kick all the mini bikers and all those other kids out. I said, they say this is private, or this is public. I said, no, there's no traffic control device on that intersection. We don't have to, because this is private property. So we use that, I use that to kick the kids off that are racing their mini bikes and stuff back there. But the thing is, am I wrong that the township can come back and take this guy's sign?
Well, if they perceive, if the township, in my opinion, if the township perceives that the sign is there and there is not work currently in progress on that property, then the sign's fair game because it's advertising without a connection to work actually being done on the property.
The sign wasn't there even 4 days.
Well, my only way of looking at it is, can you see it from the township right away? Or do you have to literally drive back there to find it? And that's where it kind of gets into a slippery slope, because that would be the equivalent of us driving behind someone's house, finding a sign leaning against your garage and swiping it.
Well, we always have had this no offsite advertising signs, were allowed. I just wanted to make it more clear.
I like it.
I'm with it,
Yeah.
I like it.
And the thing is, our HOA does not permit signs other than under the immediate use of the contractor as he's performing his work. And I think the guy just wasn't there that day. Did he had to wait for more parts to come in or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he had been there the day before working. I remember seeing the truck there. But I agree with the sign stuff because that's part of the reason we moved back there. We don't have any political signs. We don't permit any signage out there unless it's an immediate work situation going on.
You don't have any political signs back there?
No, sir.
Wow, sounds like North Korea.
None. None. That's it.
Just the sign that says no dirtbags.
Okay.
Fight nights now.
I have a sign.
Right, there you go.
Mike really wants to get going here. We would like to add temporary signs in the zoning ordinance. So we currently do this already, it's been in place, it just is not mentioned in the zoning ordinance. One temporary sign permit is permitted in the commercial corridor, commercial local, mixed-use region, and mixed-use neighborhood district. The temporary sign may be used for 45 consecutive days and may be renewed once a year. You see those like Applebee's will put up their promotion during the holidays. Mr. Scott says, buy one, get one, or whatever at Applebee's, and then, so he can have that up for 45 days, and it's a 32 square foot, 8x4 banner or something on their building, and he can renew it.
So you're just cleaning it up, making it clear for everyone.
Right, it's currently not in here.
It's cool, I like it.
Yes, I'm okay with it.
And they get a permit for that as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything, but they still have a permit. Gotta keep track of that, right? I just want to reiterate, in a residential district, each lot of record is allowed one principal use unless the zoning ordinance specifies otherwise. Just trying to be clear. And then I was going to add solar energy systems private. And that definition is a solar energy system that provides power for the principal use of the property on which it is located and shall not be used to intentionally generate power for the sale of energy to the electrical utility or other off-property users. So it's just a smaller one. We have several definitions, solar farms, everything else in here, but I wanted to add that.
How do you monitor that then? I mean, how do you?
Yeah,
So,
because a lot of these, like, whenever they put them in, they may be small, but if they're producing more, they usually feed it back into the grid.
Yeah,
it shall not
right.
be generate power for the sale of energy though.
Well, yeah, but
You mean you're saying that the smaller ones do?
Yeah,
So
it's-
yeah, a lot of them, they make them.
Well, that's the way they're selling them.
Yeah, 'cause they don't have
Pennsylvania's-
battery systems to store it, so they sell it back to the grid to
Yeah.
compensate for whatever.
Yep.
making
Right,
whatever.
grid-tied systems, which is what they are very popular in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania is a net zero state. So if you sell it back, at the same rate that you would buy it from. Other states are not net zero, you have to sell it back at a discount. So people will be doing that, and unless you, and as Matt pointed out, unless you have batteries, you're grid-tied, so when you're overproducing, you're gonna be exporting power to the power company. Meter, in effect, is gonna be turning backwards.
There's a reason why.
There again, the policing of that, and how do you,
Oh, and then you'd have to put like an ammeter on the line and watch the power being exported, It'd be more complicated than that even.
We probably have to work with the electric company, like, those bills and.
I think that, honestly, I think it's too invasive to restrict people from selling back power to the electric company. Because it's being encouraged at every turn these days, right? Solar and wind, renewables. So it is a big selling point to be able to sell power back. I don't think that,
Worried about like a solar farm or something?
I think that's what your concern is though, isn't it? Like a solar farm?
Yeah, maybe, remember the Earthworth Park was gonna do a huge.
And
Solar
limitations.
panels on the roof and then sell it back to like, they could feed 7,000
We have
customers or
a
something.
thing in there that says that the private solar systems have to be sized to only feed what is on the property.
but do
And
you
not
do it
over,
after peak time? Or
but you can sell it back, but it's sized that you can meet the peak demand of the thing being serviced.
That's got some problems because
It's more of a, I think it'd be more of a performance standard type thing then, because then you can say, well, your house is this big, you need this many panels, not 10 more to try to reap the benefits.
I think it's a line that you have to walk between being too invasive into the way people run the private business of their home, their utility business of their home, versus not letting that principal use of that home become something else like a solar farm.
Right,
Yeah.
And I think that's the line we're trying to walk.
right.
So, that needs work. I don't think that's something planning commission can sit down and just come up with today, and that's a best practices thing too. I think we should allow, there's gotta be some best practice out there as to how this has been approached. I can look at that. You want me to go look into that? I can look into that if you want, because I have an interest in this anyway, and I can help. I can get with
We'll
you
look
and I
at
can
it
help.
later, okay. All right, table 31110, industrial zone district, I would like to add mining as a permitted use. 31112 landfill, add mining. Table 31107, mixed use regional, add outdoor entertainment facility as a permitted use. Table 31107, mixed use regional, add kennel as a permitted use. And 31109, in the commercial corridor, if we can add kennel as a permitted use.
what's driving some of those?
I think the mixed use area, sports park,
Those uses are commonly found in other mixed-use residential, okay,
as well as the kennel.
yeah.
I was surprised, actually to find it in the commercial and the other zoning ordinances, like the Mill Creek. Let's see, the next one is, take a good hard look on this one. Add event venue as a permitted principal use or accessory use in the resources rural and the R&D. Criteria. Shall be limited to no more than 225 maximum guests or occupancy. Accessory use shall be limited to the interior space of the existing structure. The event accessory use may occur outside of the structure provided it is located on a single parcel no less than 20 acres. Event venue accessory use shall occur only between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. limited use to only, so they can only have, this use can only be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, wedding venue, or I don't wanna say wedding venue, it's an event venue. A parking and circulation plan shall be required and shall provide at least one off-street parking space for every 2 guests, as well as one off-street parking space for every staff member. All off-street parking areas shall be screened on each side which faces in any residential district. Any exterior lighting proposed must refer to the section 634.08. If required, screening shall be provided, and they must adhere to all local, state, and federal regulations to obtain all permits necessary. That's like for bartending or catering, whatever's required, insurance. And then to allow 1 4x8 pole sign permitted or 1 4x8 wall sign on the venue, and 1 3x3 temporary sign permitted a day of event. And posted on the same parcel.
So this is allowed in residential medium
Yeah.
and in resources rural, no more than 225 maximum. We have 1 acre lots in residential medium density. We have, you know, is this for like weddings or?
I'm not gonna, yeah, events, weddings,
No,
but you have no less than, you have to have no less than 20 acres.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
You have some particular in mind here, you've done research and you're comfortable with this language, or?
Yes, I
Okay.
looked it up. I've sat down with Tim Walter and looked at it. And
how many residential medium districts lots are
20 acres, right?
How
That's
many
what-
of those?
Are they plentiful or?
And resource rural, so the ones that I could think of would be,
Well, medium density.
Osborne. They're not interested though. I mean, they can,
It's kind of looking at the barn wedding
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, okay.
Or if you're having a big graduation party somewhere.
About 20 acres.
But we don't want everybody, you know, lives in the RNG to, you know, to have a wedding in their backyard, so that's why we
Yeah,
added
Ron's not gonna
20
be able to
acres.
start a wedding venue at his house.
And then.
Right, yeah. No, with 225, there's no Woodstock gonna be there,
No.
I guess.
No Ponderosa stuff.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
And then the last thing I wanted to add was marginal access. That's not on here, but you know, we talked about it, and if you guys wanted to take it out of the commercial corridor and just allow it in the mixed use and commercial local.
You know, the solar energy thing, that could be qualified with some words. We could put some wording in there that would, it says not to be used to intentionally generate power, but there could be some wording in there that could be said, but would allow the generation of electrical power for sale, excess electrical power for sale back to the utility. I mean, I think we could fix this with words.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it could kind of be like a performance standard, like we have the lighting standards, noise standards. We could have like a private energy solar standard.
So,
Where if
you know, there was somebody that was proposing 18,000 solar panels on a roof. Does not consider that a solar farm. I mean, we have to maybe take a look at that definition as well. But you think of a solar farm as being on the ground, right? Taking up 200 acres or whatever. But this was 18,000, so I think this is what where I was coming in at. Is it,
Is he still kicking that around?
Oh, is that the Green Township one that was?
No,
Family First, was it?
because, yeah, Series Sports Park, they were looking to do this giant over everything with all these solar panels, and the zoning hearing board shut it down.
so he may be able to generate additional surplus of power and sell it back to the energy company, but
But who's to monitor
But
that?
if they,
Who's the
well,
police?
that can't be his principal use. so the principal use is outdoor entertainment facility. He wants to feed off these solar panels, but also feed 7,000 residents. So now, to me, that's a different principal use, right?
Absolutely, that is.
So
a
that's what
different
we
thing.
were trying to figure out, like, how do you heat, so if you had solar panels, you want to feed it back to the company, that's okay, but we don't want you to sell them to everybody else.
Right.
Because that's not your principal use is your single family dwelling.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, we don't want an electrical power station, so we want.
I'm not against it, we just gotta look at the word. So those are a few things that I wanted to throw around, and then, okay, back to the marginal access. You guys think it's fine the way that it is? or do you
The
want-
big thing that we run into with the marginal access, it used to be in the subdivision ordinance, and it got pushed into the zoning ordinance. And with the subdivision ordinance, they would come before you and say, all right, I wanna put in this marginal access, but it's not quite lining up, can I put it here and there? And we could make those tweaks. Now, it being in the zoning ordinance, when it doesn't meet the letter of the law, they have to go before the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board is getting, every time one of these comes up, they're going before the zoning hearing board and basically they make the requirements. So either we need to change the language to make it a little more flexible or limit the districts that it's in where it makes more sense. Because when you get south of the I-90 corridor, these don't line up well, they don't piece together well. And that's what we're running into.
I think the letter of the ordinance is though you want to be able to access whether you zig and zag. I mean, not that that's probably most favorable, but I think it's meeting the, what's that, meeting the need, yeah, to what it is.
So just something to think about. Maybe take it out of the zoning ordinance and write it back into the subdivision ordinance again.
Well, we can put
To me,
in
that
the
makes
zone.
sense. To me, that makes sense, because,
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
Well, and then it comes to you guys and it's like, well, they got that waived by the zoning hearing board and you're like, well,
yeah.
we want it in there.
Right.
And we've had that happen on a couple cases since
Right.
it's taken effect.
But if a zoning hearing board, I don't know where I saw this, but if the zoning hearing board keeps hearing the same type of thing over and over and over again, isn't that is it regarded as an input then into the ordinance process?
It's a sign that you need to fix your ordinance.
Right, that's why I brought in the porch, in the front yard.
Yeah, I remember reading, I think it's in the NPC or
Yeah.
something like that, they say that's a possible
And that's
input,
why,
so.
why I bring that up. What section is the marginal access? Do you
It's
remember?
in the 900s.
So I can read to you guys what that says regarding marginal access. I think it says Perry Highway and Peach Street.
Which would be important to have marginal access. I mean, a lot of your transportation problems on Peach.
Providing all properties adjoining Peach Street and Perry Highway within the mixed-use regional, commercial, local, and commercial corridor. Marginal access ways shall align with existing marginal access ways on adjacent properties. If no existing marginal access way is on an adjacent property, the marginal access way shall be aligned in such a way that it can be continued on adjacent property.
pretty much opens the door then to anything that you want.
So we're not gonna touch that one. You like the way it is?
I kind of like what Matt said, because I think it's, you know, if we're getting so many back to the zoning hearing board, then it maybe makes sense to have it back in the ordinances
And
or
maybe
in
we look at keeping it in the zoning until we have the subdivision, or scratch it from the zoning and put it in the subdivision.
Right, you should go into the subdivision, I believe, that's my opinion.
And the thing was with the subdivision, we put in the zoning because it would be more restrictive, but we found out it's being too restrictive, and then basically they get
get it anyway.
because it's so restrictive, it gets waived, and then we lose it.
It sounds like you had some core values that are just getting waived, but yeah. I mean, if that's what you wanted, was to be restrictive, you did that for a reason. Yeah.
But it's gotten too restrictive, and then the zoning hearing board just waives it, and then it disappears.
Sure.
Where before we could like, let's make a deal. And
Yeah.
and Mike's been through many of these marginal access discussions where, well, it doesn't make sense here, let's kind of.
It does make sense in the mixed use though, you know, where
Mhm.
Verizon is and
Mhm. Oh,
Tim
absolutely.
Hortons and all that, it makes sense there.
Yeah.
But they waived the one down by the, they were gonna put that restaurant down on 97 by the Dollar General.
Yes.
And in one way,
But the topography did not allow it. So they went from the zoning hearing board, paid their $850 and they waived it because of the topography. So now the marginal is stopped, like,
Well, sometimes the
Yeah, well, that
topography's
must be
gonna
a
stop.
topography,
Oh,
I
it
go
is,
there and look
but
at it.
again, you have restrictions for a reason, there are
Right.
reasons why you have those things there, and yeah, maybe that's not a buildable use for it, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, I'm just saying.
no, but I think it
leave
makes
there.
more sense on Peach Street, not
Well, and if you
necessarily
look at
Perry
the
Highway. When
zoning
there's
lines-
5 lanes on Peach and you wanna get them off the main corridor, so you wanna get them on your marginal, that's the main purpose, get them off that Peach Street.
Correct,
But Perry Highway, you don't have the traffic,
not yet.
And you have the topography to deal with
you
on
know.
Perry Highway.
and if Perry Highway developed the way Peach Street did, you do have Glenmore Avenue that runs behind all those properties that would turn into like the Commons Drive that we have on Peach Street. So there is a road there, it's not developing, they're all squeezing in on that one lot right along Perry Highway, they're not going deep like Sheets did or like the Baymont did. They're all kind of these small mom and pop type shops that are going in there, it's not quite the big box stores.
Right now.
Now,
It's never a problem until PennDOT has to pay for it.
Sure.
I think it's rational.
Okay, thank you. And if you have any other suggestions, just email me, before I start the advertisement for the amendment.
So is that it for the other business, you think? On our agenda?
Yep.
And Mike, is there any public comment on?
he's wishing you would have left 20 minutes ago.
An hour and 20 minutes. On that thought, can we have an adjournment?